So you went to college, became a finance major, wasn't really doing anything with music then.
No.
You never quite felt like music was necessarily your calling. Somewhere along the line, you got a record deal. So how did that happen?
I actually wanted to go to Temple University for music and for classical performance, and I did not get in for it. It was a very small college. They only have 200 people that go there as freshmen, and out of those 200, they picked the classical performing majors. I didn't get picked, and I was kind of like, kind of sad because I got into every other school I wanted to go into for that major. But I decided to go to Temple anyway. After a year, I was like, what am I doing? Like, I just, I was like, I want to do something new for the summer, And so I called a friend up, Santi White, who is Santigold now. She was actually working for Sony. She was working for the president of Sony as an assistant or something, like assistant A&R to somebody or whatever. Like, I've known her since I was 6 years old. Like, her dad and my dad are really close friends, and I've known her forever, like Thanksgiving dinners together, vacations, like we are like family, I went to talk to her father about an internship, and he was like, okay, well, what do you want to do? What do you want your major, your major's finance, what do you want to do? And I really didn't know. He's like, yeah, she's in New York, she's working at Sony, she's doing this, doing that. We talked over the phone, and she said, well, what are you doing? I was like, well, I sing, She was like, okay, well, I started writing songs. Why don't you come up to New York, stay with me, and we'll do a song or whatever. Every weekend since then, I had been going up to New York all that entire summer, every Friday to Monday, and we would go in the studio. We ended up doing a demo tape, and I was like, well, what do I have to do to get a record deal? And she was like, I'll tell you exactly what you need to do. And the songs from that demo, 4 of those 6 songs are on the album How I Do.
Yeah.
And those songs were Tsunami, The Hustler, I've Known the Garden, and Sitting Back.
What are a lot of the things that you learned along the way on the business side? Because at this point, you're independent, right?
Yeah, I'm independent now. But I got a deal. I put out a record. I did a promo tour and toured it all around the world. I feel like my label made some mistakes. I feel like I made some mistakes. Like when my album came out and my single was happening at radio in the United States, they had me on tour with Mary J. Blige in Europe, which is not really good because if you have a song playing in the United States on the radio, you need to be in the United States working it at radio, going to the radio stations with you and your guitar player, singing the song, doing the interviews, and like completely working it. And I wasn't. I was in Europe opening up for Mary J. Blige. So that was like a bad decision that was made and suggested and made, like the label suggested it to me and I went along with it. So I can't just blame them or blame me. I got moved from MCA to Geffen because MCA went under. And then that's kind of where the roller coaster ride began, because with Geffen, they, started a new label. They took about 100 artists from MCA to Geffen. They were in the complete building steps of like creating a label. So they didn't have a president for a while, and then they didn't have A&Rs, and then they got everyone slowly but surely. And I went through like 4 or 5 presidents. And when I got to Ron Fair, in particular, he was someone that was a fan of my music and, knows me and, we know each other well. And he was like, honestly, I have a list of 12, 15 other albums that have to come out. I decided that I didn't want to wait for all these records to get put out, And he was like, okay, well, you don't have to wait. So I asked to leave the label. Maybe a year later, CeeLo asked me to sing background vocals for Gnarls Barkley, which was an amazing experience. Then I started a group with Talib and called Idol Worship and continued to perform with him and do songs with him. And I did, soundtrack work for Made Manhattan and for Killer and the Bee. I decided to release the album that, never quote unquote came out with Geffen. It's called Black Girls Rock. I just kind of keep it moving, and I'm independent now, and I don't have any contract, anything like of that nature. Some great points to it, and some parts I'm like, I wish I had a label. But I feel like if anyone's gonna be successful, like really super duper successful at being indie, I know it's gonna be me. Because I do have a fan base, and they really generally like what I do, and they like my voice, and no one has that. So it's good. I'm happy.